I've created a Python algorithm that takes these two video files of a car driving on a highway and uses it to detect the lane lines on the highway. Here's what it looks like when you actually run the algorithm on Python, where the right lane line is detected and marked with a green line, and the left lane line is detected and marked with a red line. Overall, the algorithm works pretty well. There were some issues that I ran into while trying to write it, and still there are some issues, such as there are some moments where the angles of the lines aren't exact, but overall it is pretty accurate and usually has at least one line being accurate towards what the lane actually is in real life. The algorithm basically works by taking the initial frame from the video and then doing a series of edits to get it to a point where it's just edges of the road lines that remain. There's sometimes still some artifacts of other things from the image, but for the most part, it actually is able to just detect mainly the lines. And then the way to differentiate between the left and the right line is actually by running another function called HW that generates a series of lines that have two values attached to them, which are rho and theta, marking the length and the angle of the lines. And so using this angle, you're actually able to separate between what the left line and the right line would be, because from the position from where the camera is mounted on the car, the left lines would have the angle pointing more to the right, and the right lines would have the angle pointing more to the left. After finding multiple data pairs of length and angle for a single frame and separating it from between left and right, you could then find the average left and right lines. And then using these average left and right lines, that's where we made the moving average, where we took the left and right lines across multiple frames and actually averaged them together, and then used that information to plot an average line onto the video. There are a few things that I changed over time within the detection pipeline. The first one was that the initial mask that I made for the algorithm was based on the first video, and when I went over to the second video, I realized that that mask would not work for that video because the skyline actually created false detections for road lines. And because of that, I had to actually shrink the mask, and that made it a lot easier to actually detect where the lines are on the road. Another step that I actually changed is the grayscale and threshold. So for this, the second video was actually a lot brighter, and because of this, the grayscale was had a rougher effect on the image because the lines on the road blurred more in, or blurred in more with the actual road itself. So because of that, I actually also added an HSV, and I combined the grayscale and HSV detections and then thresholded that. And then also another step that I added completely was taking the detected lines and then creating a moving average for the angle and lengths of that, and putting that as what the plotted lines would be on the video. So as I mentioned before, there was actually a few issues still remaining within this algorithm, such as what you just saw, which is where switching lanes actually, with a moving average, it doesn't really change the lines because it isn't able to detect the new lines while it's switching. And because of that, it doesn't update the moving average. Also, as you can see right now, the right lane detection is pretty far off because of the extra lines on the side from the road onto the highway. So some things that could possibly be updated within the software would be just a better control of the moving average, and also maybe trying to do like more fine tuning for the detection, such as using the grayscale and HSV